I'm Cesar Delgado from Back Roads of Illinois. I am joining with Susan Littlefield today. Susan Littlefield was past president of National Foreign Broadcasters Association. She is with KRVN in Lexington, Nebraska, as a farm director for this radio station in Lexington, Nebraska. For you, Susan.
I'm
What an
doing good.
honor that you can join the show for today.
I'm doing good, Caesar. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of your show. It's a pleasure, and I'm doing good. The weather's interesting here in Nebraska. We've got kind of a false spring going on, but there's more snow set to come in. But I know guys are anxious to get in the fields, that's for sure.
So we can talk about your experience with National Foreign Broadcasters Association presidential election. Could you tell our listeners about your experience?
Yeah, you bet. So I joined NAFB, National Association of Foreign Broadcasting, back in 2006 when I took my second job in radio. And from there, I just got very involved in the organization. I learned a lot from older farm broadcasters and had the opportunity really to find out the ins and outs of how this industry works and what our listeners and what the consumers want to know. As I had the opportunity to be on different committees. I got more and more experience and actually ran for regional office and held a regional vice president office 2 different terms, and then was encouraged to run for national office, which is a 3-year term. You start out as national vice president, you move into president elect, and then your third and final year on the executive officer team, you're president of the organization. And it really brought a lot of fun opportunities for me as I grew more confidence about myself, grew more confidence about what we do as broadcasters, and then to be able to share that story on the national stage at a variety of different events like Commodity Classic or NCBA, for example.
How did you decide to wanting to be a farm broadcaster in Nebraska? The state is very rich soil and plains. Could you explain to our listeners?
You bet. So actually, I started out as farm broadcaster in the great state of Minnesota. I also worked in Wisconsin and South Dakota before a job brought me here to Nebraska, and I have been a farm broadcaster in Nebraska for, oh man, I bet going on 25 years now. Holy Toledo's. But I absolutely love it. It for me, it was a definite learning curve when I came from Minnesota and Wisconsin, where irrigation is not a huge part of what farming is, and at least in the area I was at. And here we've got a lot of center pivots, a lot of irrigation that goes on. Not many dryland fields that you have the opportunity to see as you tour the state. But it's also, as a broadcaster, being able to talk about something that's so rich here in the state of Nebraska. I live it every day because my husband and I farm as well. And I have so many friends.
Would you like to go to be running again for the future?
Oh, if I had the chance, Caesar, I would do it in a heartbeat. I absolutely enjoyed my time as a national officer for NAFB. And if it comes around again that they ask me to, if I'd be interested in running, I would throw my name in the hat without thinking twice about it.
What is the yields for corn and beans in eastern Nebraska as well into northwest Iowa?
Um, Yield numbers, I mean, this last year we had a lot of interesting situations. So, shall we say, we've been in a drought in this neck of the woods really for the past 4 years. And so it's been very tough for farmers, unless you've got some good irrigation going on. Your yields on dry land were pretty tough. I was just trying to look up 6 billion acres of corn, and it averaged about 165 bushels per acre. And that was specifically, for corn. for a soybean perspective, let me get that number to pull up too, because I had it pulled up on my screen and it has froze. So let me okay. And for soybeans in 2022, it totaled 278 million bushels, and that was a drop from the year before. And they're about 49 bushels per acre, according to what was shared from the University of Nebraska Lincoln. So hopefully that answered your question. Obviously, there's some areas that are going to have higher yield numbers. And when we saw corn pushing that 280 plus, we had, some soybean acres that were pushing, the upper 60s, lower 70s, depending on what, how rich the soil was, whether it was dry land, whether it was irrigated, and how it fared in the hot temperatures of the summer.
Yes, ma'am, we are dry in north central Illinois near Peoria back to the Quad Cities area between Illinois and Iowa. Do you have final thoughts on your experience with National Farm Broadcasters Association president?
Yeah, I would say, to our farmers out there, thank you for what you do, because what you do allows us to tell your story as a farm broadcaster. And that's one of the cool things I think that NAFB does is it has the opportunity to really showcase what agriculture in the United States is all about. We tell the good, the bad, and the ugly that happens within our industry, but we're kind of that branch of the tree, shall we say, that has the ability to tell that story and share that information. You hear more and more as more consumers want to know where their food comes from, more consumers want to know about agriculture. It's kind of neat to be that branch on the tree that helps those farmers and ranchers tell their stories. And whether it's in an interview that we do, a story that we write up and share through our social media platforms. I think if it wasn't for NAFB and the farm broadcasters that make up this amazing organization, the story of agriculture would still get told, but maybe not to the magnitude that it is. So thank you so much to our farmers and to our ranchers out there, to our agronomists and our scientists, and even the consumer who has those questions that wants to be asked. So I definitely would say this organization has brought to light a lot of things that happen in our industry and will continue to do so in the future.
I totally agree with you, especially the story of agricultural. Thanks for coming. What an honor that I have you on the show for today.
Well, thank you so much, Caesar. I appreciate it as well. It's great to talk to you, and thanks for what you're doing to tell the story of agriculture, not only coming out of the state of Illinois, but all across the nation.
This is Susan Littlefield on Back Roads of Illinois from Krvn in Lexington, Nebraska. From Back Roads of Illinois, I am Cesar Delgado. Have a great day.